What do you get when you throw Steelix and Machop into the Pokemon Arena? Welcome back. We are in the Apex, which we don't love, but hey, we make do. Lots of really great fights, a completely stacked prelims, all leading up to the biggest age gap that we have ever seen in a main event. Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos, and it is Vallejos, not Vallejos. Let's give this card a dynamic breakdown. We are back in Vegas in the Apex. Ugh, boo. I'm never gonna like the Apex. I'm just can't be a fan. Can't be a fan of no crowd. It's not great. It doesn't mean we don't get great fights, but that's not my arena. This is the biggest age discrepancy in UFC main event history. He could be my son, said Josh Emmett about Kevin Vallejos in his MMA junkie interview with Mike Bond. That was pretty funny. Although he could be his son, that would make Josh Emmett a father at the age of 15. Not really ideal circumstances there. We have a lot of big strawweight narratives in play, both in our co-main event, which is some really high stake stuff, but also to start our night off with a little bit of a sneaky rematch. We've got featherweights all around this one, a spotlight throughout in our main event, but also a couple of other fights. We're going to get a little touchy-feely with some potential fight of the night stuff with Andre Fili and Jose Miguel Delgado. Harry Hardwick is going to get his second chance. That's exciting stuff. And also decorated, one of the most decorated in the history of BJJ, Bia Mesquita, is continuing to carve her MMA path. Lots of exciting stuff. And maybe you've been wondering, if you're not a native Spanish speaker, not that I am, but I am interested and maybe one day being fluent in Spanish. You may have heard some people saying Kevin Vallejos' name, Kevin Vallejos, which would be correct if he wasn't from Argentina. So in Argentina, as well as several other places that were influenced, I believe, a lot by Italian. Okay, crazy stuff. I'm not an expert here, but I believe this phenomenon of where Kevin's name is actually pronounced Vallejos is something called yeísmo. So that is a distinct feature where those double L's make a little bit of a different sound. So it's not Kevin Vallejos, it's Kevin Vallejos because he is an Argentine. Not that I'm the pronunciation police. I get a lot of things wrong all the time, especially with Brazilian names. So still learning, still working that out. But I thought this was pretty cool and just a fun little learning moment for everyone. First up, we have our prelims, and oh my goodness, look at this. We are stacked. There are so many fighters all over, lots of fights to get through. First up, we got a rematch on our hands between Piero Rodriguez and Sam Hughes. Sam Page, she is such a classic, has been in the UFC since 2020, and right now is coming off of a rear naked choke over Shauna Bannon a couple months prior. Classic Sam Page style. She's got a really strong wrestling foundation, really crafty with the submissions, and has come in as a replacement fighter 3 times. Yeah. So when you need somebody, you call Sam Hughes. She's going to say yes. She's that type of woman. We love her. She's always down. She's on a 3-fight win streak now, keeping it super active, and she is an absolute sweetie. Yeah, through and through, sweetie vibes. We love that. Her wins and losses are usually via decision, which is pretty demonstrative of her maximum durability for sure. Sammy Amy definitely thrives on forward movement and really likes to push the pressure in her fights less than being a counter striker. So sometimes can play a little bit of a following in that sense, looking to get you and be in charge for sure. And she is known for winning as the underdog. So shout out to that. Don't want to bet against Sam Hughes, because if you do, it might serve you wrong. Don't want to bet in general, because you never know in life what's going to happen, so it's not worth losing money over. And she's going against Piera Rodriguez, La Fiera, who is been in the UFC for just a couple of years less than our friend Sam Page, and is coming off of a split win with Ketlin Sousa. She is a former LFA champion. We love that. Her mom is her hero. Shout out to that. Shout out to the psych degrees. She's definitely doing a lot of psychological games as well in the cage. We love to see that. So she's a finisher. Never been finished herself, keeps a lot of really, really good control on the ground while she isn't threatening the submission. Doesn't mean the control is not going to happen. So it's her only loss, though, in addition to a disqualification. So we don't love that, but you know what happens. We're only human. We'll see a lot of lateral movement and a lot, again, of tricks to try and set up the takedown. So heavy on the control and really good at timing things as well. Their first fight, I think, was in 2022, several years ago. It's been a couple of fights for each of these gals since then, and it was a really exciting decision. So I am looking forward to this first fight because I know that it is going to have an essence of the last one, which was high pace, high striking volume, crazy moments on the ground. It was a real grind. It was a tough fight too, so it makes sense to hit the rematch because even though Rodriguez got the win the first time around, it was close. It was close. It was tough. Great pace. I feel like both these women are true experts, really, really strong in all the areas. And what I love about both of them is the pace. The pace, the pace, the pace. So I'm expecting a very similar painting to be painted, a picture to be painted that we saw in their first fight. Should be a great scrap to start us off. Then we're going bantamweight with it with Elijah Smith and Soo Young Yu. Elijah Swift Smith is seemingly very wise beyond his years in his performances within the cage. He seems to have a way better handle on things than you would expect for somebody who is 23. He's actually following in his dad's footsteps, Gilbert Smith Jr., former UFC veteran. So that may explain a little bit of his prowess, but it also could just be a special magical light inside of him. He's been in the UFC for only a little bit now and is coming off of a slam win back in August. And he actually really likes the slam. Nothing is greater evidence, I would say, of Elijah Smith's seeming wisdom, his wiseness, which I believe I read even as an article headline coming from the UFC most recently. Nothing is a greater example than his fight against Vince Morales, where we really got to see everything. Watch out, right? Everything. It was great combos, uppercuts that cause a spray of blood. Watch out, Japanese necktie. Like, we literally got to see everything. Well, I don't know about literally, but pretty close to literally. What a amazing performance. He came out with a win in that fight. That was his UFC debut and has been keeping the 7-fight win streak. He's not really a submission guy, but I'm telling you that ground performance is fabulous. He is good on the ground. He's got one win, nay a loss, but I think that those submission wins are on the way. They're coming. He has never lost a decision, and he is getting most of his wins and therefore by knockout. When you see him going for his takedowns, he really lunges in there. He's very bendy with it. Like he can really change levels super, super well. His lateral movement is incredible, and he offers a very switchy stance as he's engaging with that, hitting those combos. One thing he does have to watch is the fingers. Sometimes they're like that. You don't want to get one of those in the eye now, do ya? And before this, he used to work at a car dealership. And he's going against Soo Young Woo, Jiu-Jitsu, which, as the nickname alludes to, he is a jiu-jitsu expert. He is a BJJ black belt. He is also the Road to UFC's winner in the year 2024 and has remained undefeated in his UFC career thus far, coming off of a win of Zhao Long. Shout out to Long for cursed fight most recently. Yeah, so of course Yu has never been submitted. Not of course, but just in case you didn't know, he is on that decision grind, and that's also where his losses are coming from primarily. So definitely a very durable fighter, but he has hit a 5-fight win streak, keeps it very, very light on the feet, not a flat-footed kind of fighter. So that takedown is very sneaky. Very sneaky. I mean, not probably, of course, a little bit more sneaky to me than to somebody who's a professional. But still, it seems to trick a lot of people when you watch him. And then the problem is, not his problem, but their problem is that as soon as he gets you there, his ability to weigh on you is severe. Elijah Smith is continuing with his tests, and Soo Young Woo, I feel, is a really great matchup. I think it makes sense for you as well. Both of these guys in a very similar spot. I think even though Elijah is known for putting together those slick combos and being a very good striker, that he is just so good all around. And this will be a really, really cool test, I think, because Soo Young is just such a wet blanket. He will weigh you down. So if Elijah can find a way to get him off him, or, maybe even worse, threaten a submission of his own, that would be a really crazy moment. And that would really add some stock to Elijah's picture, right? That would make him look very fabulous and even more well-rounded. So regardless of if the outcome is a win or a lose, Elijah, I feel, could definitely just show a lot in this one if he can deal with an absolute jiu-jitsu master. I think it will be exciting. Both guys are super athletic, so if it gets to the ground, I know it's going to be tense. And speaking of grappling, what's up, Bia Mesquita? She is going against Montse Rendon, and this is a women's bantamweight. If you don't know, Bia Mesquita started her martial arts journey when she was 5 years old and is in now the IBJJF Hall of Fame as a 10-time champion, currently holding the record, ADCC world champion, and have submitted basically everybody, the likes of Mackenzie Dern, among many other of the most talented grappling folks that we've got. She is the BJJ queen. She absolutely is. We're talking record holding, right? Massive threat. And she has decided to most recently transition her career to MMA. So she made it look easy in LFA as the former champion, and now is coming in for her second UFC appearance after a very dominant win against Irina Alexeva. She did exactly what she wanted in there and got that submission win. Loves a rear naked choke. Most of her wins via submission. She feints really well. The head movement is great. The striking looks really solid. But her game plan. So the striking looks good, but ultimately the game plan is punching away into the takedown. And we have got rear naked chokes all over the place. She's also a Disney adult with a physical education degree, loves the beach, loves family. She's going against Montse Rendon, the monster, who is a 12-time national champion of jiu-jitsu. So a perfect match here. Really, really great matchup, of course. We got two grappling experts. She came from Invicta. All of her fights have made their way to decision, and more than half of them are from split. So it's been a little tense, a little bit not definitive there, but that's okay. Currently coming off of a split decision. And she is pals with Juliana Pena, so putting in some great reps with some great talent. She's a bit of a chaser, looking to run you down, which is going to be really good for a fellow chaser, because that means we're going to get a clash. When she hits, you can feel it. She's very, very strong. So keeping it in the hands, though, and by that we mean not a lot of kicks happening. So even though she's searching for the takedown for sure, when we are striking, it's not a lot of legs going on there. So we do like being on the ground. Rendon is a ground gal, and she has that fighting spirit. When she talks about fighting, you can tell that it's something that she just loves to do. So, some people fight because they're trying to stay straight, find a better path. Seems as though she chose fighting because she just likes to scrap. Like, she just wants to get in there. You never know what brings people in. And she also has a degree in international tourism. This is a really cool fight because Bia Mesquita, carving her UFC path, and Rendon, same. Only 4 fights in the UFC, so just a little bit ahead, but not by too much. And Rendon is a grappling fanatic. She loves to be on the ground, so this will be really exciting because she's definitely going to embrace it. Again, as I'm often saying, when we have two grappling experts, sometimes they just kind of cancel each other out and choose to just throw down, which I could also see because both these ladies really keep it in the hands. Not a lot of legs very much on either side, at least not historically, so we could wind up in the pocket and just get a little crazy, a little nasty with it. But I'm pretty excited to see how things go if/when we transition to the ground, because we have two grappling experts. Bia Mesquita, though, the BJJ lady goat. I think she refers to herself as that. Yeah, it makes sense. Earned. But we got a fun grappling match potential here. You never know what'll happen. Then we have Luan Lacerda and Hector Sousa in a bantamweight match. Luan Lacerda is a Judo Brazil champion, BJJ black belt, and had a bit of a layoff, but has been back in action and is coming off of an armbar submission win over Simon Oliveira just a couple of months prior. But yeah, before then, hadn't seen him since 2023. So been here since 2023, but only 1-2. So it's been a little, up, down, and all around. He is a subist through and through, 85% of his wins. So coming off of one of those. And he's got 1 loss in each category. So that's a fun thing. He has yet to get that knockout win, though. It's coming maybe. He's super, super kicky. So very flat-footed with it, but very, very active with the legs. So really sticking into it. So can get a little stuck, but very kicky, low and high. He's actually a teammate of Jose Aldo, and he really attacks the body, both with those legs and with those hands. So not exclusively a headhunter, looking to soften you up all around so that maybe you'll get confused and he can take you down. And he's going against Hetcher Sosa, the Guanche warrior. Hetcher is from an island that's called Lanzarote, and the Guanches are the indigenous Canarian people who he represents, and I believe also inhabit part of that island. Shout out to that. Shout out to being the youngest of 6, which he says makes him the most determined. That's cute. Love that. BJJ brown belt. He has felt the fire within him to start fighting ever since 2015. After, I believe it was a soccer game, he got into a bit of a scrap. Into a little bit of a scrap. You know, unsanctioned fire was lit within him, and now he's here, sanctioned. So, FCR Bantamweight Champion, WOW Bantamweight Champion, Dana White's Contender Series 2 UFC debut with this 11-fight win streak. His only loss was an early round 1 TKO back in 2022. So it's been a long time, really made it happen since then. He's a bit of a knockout person himself, but he's got it all in his arsenal. You can see it's pretty evenly split. 43% knockout, 21% sub, rest of that's decision. So what does he want to do? What does he want to accomplish? Well, he wants to demonstrate respect and discipline. He wants to show the kids of the world, right, how to respect and treat your opponent like another human being, and then how to dig down within yourself and find that special thing, harness it, and propel yourself to greatness and to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. So love that for him. Love that he's a Will Smith fan. That's cute. He's a family guy, and he's there for his family, he says, not just financially, but emotionally. Shout out to that. Shout out to emotional support. And shout out to Coco, his Pomeranian. This should be a fun matchup. Always excited about a debut. Hetcher Sosa seems like a really interesting character, so very excited to see what he has got to show us in the octagon. He's going to have to deal with lots of kicks and a submission expert in front of him. We got to scrap, though, of course, because Hetcher Sosa, he has definitely got the fire lit within him. All right, next up, lightweights. Balaji, Okai, and Manuel Sosa. Here we go with pronunciation. I still don't know if it's Okai or Oki. We're going to have this problem later, too, with Omar C, who I often called Sai. I think it's Omar C. Oh, my goodness. So sorry, Balaji Oki. We're going to go with Oki, our Zulu warrior, our 2-time lightweight atomic champion. Right now he's coming off of a TKO loss to Mason Jones. You know how Mason Jones can be, though. You know, he is sneaky, and he is got the whole wheelhouse, so it's okay. We can get past this little skid because that was his first ever knockout loss. So still learning, still making it work. Knockouts are incoming on his end, 50% of his wins coming that way, and he says that he really needs to prioritize not chasing the finish, so can get a little bit caught up in wanting to, you know, you smell the blood, you just want to go in there and get it, but that can get you caught. It can get you caught by Mason Jones, so yeah. His body attack prioritization is sensational. Balaji, that's the thing you're going to see, is attacks to the body. Doesn't matter who he's going to go against, he's going to find a way to rip. He is just so good at that, and it really slows you down, and that makes it even worse when you're trying to deal with his really fast movement. He's definitely one of the faster fighters in the division, super quick. Humble beginnings, shout out Domino's Pizza, and he's very humble still. Super nice guy. Haven't met him, but it seems so. And has suffered from the canceled bout curse, so never really know why. Not that you never really know why, I'm pretty sure we can find out why, but it's unfortunate when we see that. Had a lot of cancellations, so maybe he hasn't been as active as he has wanted, but it hasn't been too long since his last fight, probably just long enough to recover from a knockout. And he's going against Manuel Sosa, who is making his debut. Here we go. He is a decorated Muay Thai practitioner, also a brown belt in BJJ, but he is definitely a striker. Right now he's coming off of a TKO win back in August of last year, and he is getting the win that way very frequently. 62% of his wins has never been finished himself. He's a very wide stance, very large man, keeps very, very light on the feet, and is absolutely terrifying in the way that he puts on that pressure in and out, super wide. It's always cool to see a debut. You know, I'm always hyped about that. Love when new fighters make their way to our roster, and I really like what I've seen from Sosa because he is very vicious, very vicious. very strong. The physicality, I'm loving it, loving the energy, and just a very fun, striking thing that he's got going on. And Belagioki, he is really cool as well, has proven to be a very exciting fighter. Love the combinations that he puts together, but there is an element of unknown right now, having or being that he is coming off of a knockout loss, his first ever of that kind. So will he enter the octagon with a greater sense of caution? Will he be more tentative, a little more delicate in there with his approach? I'm not sure, because he can be pretty go for broke, which is, I think, kind of what got him caught up a little bit. And he's said some things about wanting to prioritize the finish a little less. So will we be seeing that? Just curious to see if he's approaching things differently. And we got another debut. Fun stuff. And then we have a super exciting welterweight matchup with Chris Curtis and Miktikbek Orolbai. Two of my favorite fighters right here. This is going to be rad. The Action Man is such a veteran, like veteran through and through. Not just because he's 37 years old. Shout out to the Unks, but that 32-12 record. He's a Roctagon champion, a CES champion, Fight Night champion, Premier MMA champion. The list seems to go on and on. Like, he just dominated all over the place. PFL, and eventually found his way to the UFC through the Dana White's Contender Series. Oh, but I remember the moment. And right now, he's coming off of a split win with Max Griffin that was able to break that 2-fight losing streak for you. And that is his second welterweight appearance, at least in the UFC. So he's got a deep welterweight history, but started off his UFC career at middleweight, I'm pretty sure. That's a little strange, but here we are. And Chris Curtis, is a knockout kind of guy. So 17 wins via knockout, that's a lot. And 7 of them are in round 1. So he can kind of get it done in any round. We'd like to see that. Moving down a weight class as mentioned, but he has history there, and he really prefers to keep it in the hand. So he's a southpaw primarily and loves to keep it punching. So really up in that pressure, and it's in the hands. He said it himself, he's not into takedowns. Okay, he's not into takedowns, though I'm sure that all of that work at Extreme Couture has made him a little bit better or more versed with takedowns than previously. Not to say that he wasn't sharp with it, but maybe he has expanded his wheelhouse a little bit. Extreme Couture, it's the cream of the crop. Randy Couture, the best to ever do it. I don't think I say that enough, how much of a Randy Couture fan I am. Maybe I do, but I love Randy Couture. He is so cool. So Extreme Couture, that's the place. Chris Curtis is super quirky. He really believes that he wants it more. I think he's saying that a lot. Like, he just doesn't think anybody wants the violence as bad as he does. And that's the kind of mentality that I feel like works sometimes. That we can really have that. It doesn't necessarily have to be about dissing your opponent, but the self-belief aspect. He just thinks he wants it as much as a person could. And, it's been a little strange for the Action Man in terms of career ups and downs, as it often can be. He's technically retired 3 times, but here we are coming in off a win. Let's do it. And he is going against Miktikbek Orolbai, Prince Orolbai. He doesn't have a nickname yet, but I'm going with Prince Orolbai. Look at this horseman on the horse. And it's more than just loving horses. He does Coke Baru, which, if you don't know what that is, well, it's just this cute little game where players on horses compete to grab a goat carcass and throw it into a goal, essentially. It's actually pretty cool stuff. Pretty high-paced game. Pretty awesome. So he's an interesting guy for sure. Horse guys, we love him. Like we're always saying, you can't have a UFC card without at least one horse guy or gal. Although, of course, we disproportionately have a lot more men than we do women, so it just happens to be horse guys. But our friend is coming off of a very strong performance against Jack Hermansson, but it was also heartbreaking. Yeah, because Jack went out, and it took a really long time for him to kind of gather his wits about him. So that was unfortunate. And, it was also unfortunate because our friend Hermansson was looking sunken. He was looking like a skeleton. It's crazy. I don't think welterweight is the move for Mr. Hermansson. Miktikbek Orolbai even looks a little bit skinny at welterweight. It's insane to think that he competed at lightweight. What is going on? So that was a bit of a heartbreak, but not in Orolbai's case, right? Prince Orolbai looking good. So he's never been finished and has proven to be extremely tough. Check out the Robertson fight. That is one nasty, yucky scrap, one of the best ones we've got. That's a classic. You got to check it out. He can really do it all. You definitely see that in that fight and all of Mixtapek's fights. Huge fan. He's definitely one of my favorite active fighters currently. Prince Orolbai all the way. He's just splitting his targets so well. He's going to come in short notice even. He's just a fighter through and through, but just so technical. So got that fighting spirit. Keeps it really, really technical. And like I said, interesting guy. Loves nature. Said he spent his youth running around the mountains, but he's also a lawyer. What? Don't mess with him. Okay? Don't mess with the lawyer. He knows his fashion, which again is evidence of his beautiful mind. If you ask me, this one is the battle of the beautiful minds. We got a beautiful mind battle between two beautiful minds. Always excited to see both of these guys, Chris Curtis, Mixtapek Orolbai, really deliver. Super, super fun. And I'm telling you, Prince Orolbai, he has got some things up his sleeve at all times, and he just fills all the spaces super, super well. So that's the difference here, I think, is that Chris Curtis, has been very upfront about prioritizing the striking, liking to keep it in the hands specifically, whereas Prince Orolbai, he'll do anything. He'll go anywhere that you want to take it, gritty, nasty, let's roll on the ground, let's do it all. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see who pushes the pace in this fight, because I think both guys are down to lead the dance, not exactly... I don't think either of them have a huge preference in being the counter striker or the forward pressure. That's not how you put that. This is a good one. We got a bit of a veteran prospect matchup here as well, right? For sure. So Orolbai carving his way, and Chris looking to show the veteran in him. Speaking of veterans, we got a double veteran matchup here. What's up with Brad Tavares and Eric Anders? We got a middleweight one on our hands. Brad Tavares is veteran to say the least. Okay, we got a handful of veterans. Brad Tavares might be the most veteran that we got on the card. So he's 38 years old, and he is a former Bama champion, and he has been in the UFC since 2010. Yeah, since before some of you could even form meaningful thoughts. I'm not sure my thoughts were meaningful in 2010 either, but... So tough 11, what a time, right? Many most. This guy has carved a insane legacy in the middleweight division and in the UFC. We are giving snaps and claps, and shout out to Extreme Couture, one of the Extreme Couture poster children for a while. He is on the decision grind. 67% of his wins come that way because Brad Tavares is just going to grind you out. But right now he's coming off of a knockout loss, so it took some recovery time, and he's back, and he's ready for war. That's what we love. He really brings that. Ready for war. He can finish you at any moment. Doesn't have to be round one. That's the Tavares style. Not really much of a subster, but doesn't mean that he can't handle it on the ground. He's got one win there, but nay a loss, so definitely controlling and getting up when he wants to. The takedown defense is extremely optimal, very, very good at keeping you off of him. If we get to the ground and he doesn't like it anymore, he's probably going to find a way to get back up. We like that. And we like that his mentality is evolve or die. So he doesn't ever want to get stuck in one particular place. Not the type of person to say that he doesn't want the fight to be in one particular area, because he just has the belief system that you got to make it work. You got to make it work. And he's all about lifted trucks, game in, spearfishing. Shout out to a cold plunge. I would never do it. He's going against your boy, Eric Anders, southpaw in the house, a former pro football player and had a bit of a history there. And he actually owns his own fitness academy. So he's a veteran in terms of sports, but less of a veteran in terms of his martial arts experience, but still is a Golden Gloves champion, is an LFA champion, and has amassed a record of 17-9. So he's a bit of a veteran in both categories. He's been in the UFC since 2017. It's been a little up, down, here and around, faced a lot of tough competition as you do, and is coming off of a spinning TKO loss to the old CLD. You know how Christian Leroy Duncan is. He's going to put the spin on you. Yeah, he's going to do something crazy. He's going to do it, and he got away with it. Yeah, Eric Anders is definitely a knockout person. 59% of his wins, that's 10, and he is super durable. Most of his losses are coming via decision, so hard to get him out of there, and he is not much of a subster himself. Classic veteran matchup here. I'm expecting to see some veteran moves, some veteran adjustments. I'm loving that. I'm hoping that if this fight gets a little slowy, that one of our guys finds a way to mix it up, because that's definitely what they are good at. They're good at keeping their head in the game, seeing their options and studying as the fight goes on. So we got a veteran matchup here, both in need of a win to bounce back, and both specifically coming off of a knockout loss. So we've got that in common in addition to their veteran status. Next up, I think this is our featured prelim, Vitor Petrino and Steven Asplund. Vitor Petrino has been here since 2023. Right now he's coming off of a knockout win over Thomas Peterson, and that was a bit of a strangey. Yeah, we got a little tired here during the fight, a little slowed up, a little clinch hug, you know how it goes, but we did get that round 3 knockout, so shout out to Evolving, because that's Vitor's first ever round 3 knockout, and that is also his second appearance at heavyweight. And if there's one thing about Vitor Petrino, is that he's a unit. Body yaddy yaddy. So if there's one thing I think will happen in the commentating booth, it is a mention of this man's body. They can't seem to help themselves. I think last time John called him a Goliath. All good. He is a knockout kind of guy, 62% of his wins. He's very explosive, really just trying to, run at you with those punches. They're mostly occurring right away. So again, he's coming off of his first round 3 knockout. Historically, we have 4 in round 1, 3 in round 2, and those hands are dropping sketchy, so he gets a little tired. Because it's very explosive early, maybe waning a little bit as the fight goes on, but it's a lot of pressure and a lot of excitement. Steven Asplund will also probably receive a couple of comments on his body due to the fact that he used to be 500 pounds, and we can respect the discipline it takes to drop some weight and get in the cage twofold. There you go. So he has been a champion all over the place. LFA, MCC, IF, boom, boom, boom. Accomplished. Check, check, check. Here we are. Coming off of his first UFC performance where he got a knockout in round 2 over Sean Sharif. Pretty cool. It was fight of the night. Really put on a really brilliant show, and that is great momentum after a really awesome Dana White's Contender Series as well. A round 1 knockout there. So Steven is very, very strong. He's on a 4-fight win streak, and right now he's filling in short notice. I believe it was supposed to be Kennedy Nezachekwu, who was in his place, but no longer. So here he is. We love him for that. He's knockouts all the way, 86% of his wins. Nay, a loss, so has proven to be tough so far. His only loss was via Dennis Freeman, who has recently found his way to the UFC as well. Shout out to the Freemanator. He is a very, very talented wrestler and was able to control Steven pretty well on the ground and eventually manifested his way to a submission. But Steven can stay really patient in there, so it's something. So even though he's getting a lot of knockouts and a lot of knockouts early, he can keep it chill, keep it refrained. So I am expecting to finish. I don't know if it will be in round 1. Steven, as we have observed, it can be patient with it. He did get his last knockout in round 2, but he can get his knockouts in round 1, of course, but tries not to search for it too hard. Vitor, a little bit on the opposite end, trying to get guns a-blazing right away, but if you can weather the storm with him, then he seems to slow down a little bit, but he's never not dangerous, having gotten his last knockout in round 3, a first ever for him. Pretty cool. We're evolving. Both guys definitely evolving here. A fun heavyweight matchup for sure. I get why it's the featured prelim. At least I think it's the featured prelim, because I do think we're going to see some sparks flying. For this one. Should be fun. And we've got some blazing knockout finish potential here for sure. That means we made it to our main card. Woo-woo! Starting off with some flyweights, Bruno Silva and Charles Johnson, who have been trying to claw and scratch their way to the belt, and here they are face to face. Charles Energy Johnson is the pride of St. Louis. Shout out to my Midwestern fellow. What's up, neighbor? He started off his martial arts journey with wrestling, and then he had a bit of Olympic aspirations with track and field. So if you've ever wondered why he's got the Olympic rings tattooed on him, that is why. He was never made it to the Olympics, but he was a 2-time national track championship, and when he speaks about it, he says he was 18 years old and ambition told him to get the tattoo. I think that's pretty cute. But he did so many events in track and field, steeplechase, all the meters. I don't know a lot about track, but he did all the things. He did them all. And he was a 2-time LFA champion, and right now is coming off of a loss in what was a rematch with Alex Perez, fellow veteran. So 2 veterans ran it back, and it did not go his way this time. So now we're 1-1 with that rematch, and it's all good though. I don't think when he was speaking about it, he was saying it doesn't really matter that he beat him a year and a half ago. There's still so much more outside of him to even do. There's a lot of fights to be booked for Charles Johnson for sure. So he has been described as enigmatic. He is a bit of an enigma. So, sometimes he has really fabulous, really great success. And sometimes he does not. And that's life. That's life. But has not found a really solid consistency as of late, but has faced a lot of undefeated prospects and is the last person to beat Joshua Van. So shout out to that. That's pretty relevant right now. Very relevant right now. He went 4-0 in 2024. That was an absolute year for him and had previously never been finished until his TKO loss. So, it's happening. But he wins all the ways, teeping like it's a jab, and really attacks the legs as well with his legs, of course. So he is looking to slow you down. He feels very happy in the fence, clinch expert, knows the violence, and has been putting in some time with Merab, which is pretty cool. I think they're still doing that. Love that. And he's been working on building his farm. He's working on building the farm. I love that. Chickens first. And he's going against Bruno Bulldog Silva. Happy early birthday to him. Just a couple of days away. That's not so incredible. I mean, I think it'd probably be nice to celebrate your birthday outside of fight week, but alas, BJJ black belt. He is actually one half of the Bruno Silvas in the UFC, believe it or not. Common name there. He's coming off of a rear naked choke win over Hyung Seung Park and with that broke his 2-fight losing streak that he accrued due to Manel Cobb and Joshua Van. Absolute sharks in the division. So it's important to know who. He's got a very diverse target attack, and when he really gets those kicks going, he really gets it going. He looks super incredible when he throws those legs, and he is a self-described flyweight star. Can't disagree there. Winning all of the ways, lots of finishes, more than 70% of his wins via finishes, and about split halfway between each. Has only been submitted once, so has really good control there. Nature lover, and he's buddies with Triple C. Interesting that both these guys are individually close with two legends, Merab and Henry Cejudo. That's kind of cute. This is a pretty important fight. Pretty important, things are really spinning, really turning in the flyweight division. Maybe even more so since Loner Kavanagh was able to look so fabulous against Brandon Moreno. What in the heck? And I'm pretty sure Charles Johnson, or was it Bruno Silva? One of them was booked against Loner, and they snagged him for that fight. And they might have been thinking, that should be me fighting Moreno. But it wasn't. So, yeah, it's just lots happening. Lots happening in the flyweight division, so it's just super important. I feel like there's lots of implications here. We're often saying that, but I don't know. It's feeling implication heavy. And, one of our pals coming off of a win, one coming off of a loss. So Bruno Silva coming off that win. Charles Johnson looking to find a consistent win streak here. Again, has been described as enigmatic. But difference between them is that Bruno Silva had a really, really difficult time with Joshua Van. A really, really tough time. So I'm wondering how that, if at all, will factor into this fight. What we know is we're going to get some high-level stuff. We got some high-level guys that have just, like I said, been circulating right underneath the top, right in that top 15, just looking to get me, get me in there. That's what both of them are saying. Great way to start the main card out. This will be a fabulous one, I'm pretty sure. And then we have more featherweight stars, Harry Hardwick and Marwan Rahiki. Marwan Freaky Rahiki. That is pretty funny, I gotta admit. Love that picture of him and the cat. I don't know if it's his cat, but that's just so funny and adorable to me. I love that so much. I have a calico as well. It's such a cutie. Yes. So Rahiki is making his UFC debut after Dana White's Contender Series win. He got into some street fights as a kid, as he said is apparently common in his neighborhood. He hails from Morocco and is representing Australia as well. He has only seen the finish. So in his short career, he's still a young man, has been spinning his way through 85% of his wins coming from TKO, half in round 1, half in round 2, so hardly seen the later rounds, but interestingly enough, he does have one sub win in a 4th round fight. That's cool. He takes damage on the way in though, so watch out for that. He's willing to risk it all to get that biscuit. Risk it biscuit style, super leggy. He mixes up the attacks to the body really well, usually via legs. So not exactly a lot of uppercuts or body shots, coming from the hands, but lots coming from the legs. He also has carpentry skills and he loves the beach. We got a lot of beach lovers. I mean, who doesn't love the beach? And he is going against Harry Houdini Hardwick. That's a fun nickname too. His age used to be listed as NA on Tapology before his most recent fight, which has me thinking maybe he's a vampire. Although now we know he is 31 apparently, but I still like my theory. He was a 2-time Cage Warrior champion, and by 2-time I mean actually 2 title defenses. That's a little bit of a different thing if we wanted to get into the weeds of it. But he really killed it over there. Like, he really showed that he's got everything to offer. But when he made his very last-minute fill-in debut against Kawe Fernandez, he got the Fernandez treatment. You know, the thing about Fernandez is he's got a lot of leg-related finishes. There is something about that man's kicks that are just supernatural. He might have a secret metal plate in his leg that is just undisclosed. He just didn't tell anybody about it. Just kidding, but it's strange. It's very serious. So those calf kicks genuinely broke Harry down, and he was unable to continue. You know, it was, the leg just shut down. So he lost his previous 8-fight win streak, but again, shout out to him for stepping in short notice, and here is Harry's second chance. Pretty cool that it's a main card spot. Love that. Again, he deserves it. Real Cage Warriors legend. So we are 0-1 in the UFC, looking for that first win. But that's the thing about Harry, is he can do it all the ways. So in order of most common to least common, it's decision, submission, TKO. So he can do it all, though. He's got everything in his pocket, and he's really willing to get right in there. I would say if there's a defining quality of Harry Hardwick, it would be the sense of urgency that he brings to the fight. I have a feeling this one's going to be quick. Like, we're going to run at it, and we may get a quick finish out of it. I don't know. Harry's pretty tough, and he has really put himself in some crazy positions and really come out on the other side. I love all the tools that he displays in his arsenal. I think Rahiki, has shown a striking preferential, but when you look in his fights, he seems pretty ready and willing to go to the ground. I'm just thinking this one's going to be fast-paced, that will be the defining quality here. Fast. I think we're just going to run at it. Again, Harry with the crazy sense of urgency, and Rahiki with a lot of early finishes and spinning attack. So we got a fun one. This is going to be a little crazy cuckoo, and really excited about debut, of course, and Harry's second opportunity with a little bit more preparation time. I do think Harry is going to show a lot of his veteran skills. That's another really big difference here between our fighters. We have somebody young, Rahiki's only 23, really making his way, and then we have a former Cage Warriors champion. So bit of a we're coming at different places, but we're both new to the UFC. And then we have the fight I might be most looking forward to. Andre Fili and Jose Miguel Delgado, another featherweight spotlight. Andre Touchy Fili, we gotta get rid of that. Please change that nickname. It's not too late, Andre. He's never going to. Why would he, right? Why would he? He's a switchy. Truly is a switchy. Like, the way that he switches stances, very, very fluid, a super interesting movement. Has been in the UFC for a while, veteran, 2013. Right now is coming off of a split decision win with Christian Rodriguez. Was a bit overwhelming and confusing for Christian, although it was tough and it was a split. Definitely a born fighter, willing to die on the sword type. Most of his wins are via the knockout or the decision. He'll slow you a bit with those takedowns, though, and you will see that very often. There's usually at least 1 or 2 Andre Fili takedowns per fight, but really likes to get the knockout and the decision win when it comes down to it. He's got 3 wins that are split, right, lumping in that Christian Rodriguez, which is evidence of war. So when you really look at Andre Fili's split decision wins, you can see that it's a close, fun fight. Not a split decision because it's weird and there's not a lot going on. Quite the opposite. The Cub Swanson fight is one of my favorite fights ever. Love that. Had to use a little bit of Andre Fili's soundbite in my Cub Swanson video, talking about how Cub Swanson is a scary man to fight, because, yeah, he nerds out a lot over motorcycles, music, arts, comics, and would definitely prefer if people asked him about that kind of stuff as opposed to fighting-related things at the press conference. He gets a little bored, a little snoozy with the fight talk. He wants to talk Zen and Violence by Dennis O'Neil. How about that? Takes some mushrooms in his backyard when he's feeling a little fun and frisky and real. He considers himself grounded in reality, and I think so too. Seems pretty perceptive about his past. Again, I don't know this man personally, so we got to put a little bit of a seemingly in there, but he seems pretty deep, and especially since becoming a father, he seems like he's really locked in on it. Love to see that. And you know what? When it comes to the haters, the opinions, if you can't beat his ass, he does not care. He does simply not care what you think, and I like that. And as mentioned, he's got a very interesting movement, that switchy, and he is a new father. Congrats. And he's going against Jose Miguel Delgado, who is the youngest of 7. 27 himself, he is a striker and an aggressive mix switch, similar to his opponent. Very switchy with it. He is new, though, to the UFC, coming in 2025, and it's coming off of a loss to Nathaniel Wood. So a different position from his opponent, coming off of a win where he outstyled. He kind of got outstyled a little bit by Nathaniel Wood, or more so outpressured. So the thing about Nathaniel Wood is he's got maximum durability, really well-rounded skills. I do think it was the durability and the cardio, the pace that Nathaniel Wood was willing to put on as he was just taking everything that Jose was putting on. Pretty impressive stuff. And unfortunately, Jose did miss weight for that fight. So that was not an amazing sign. Not really great. But he just wasn't able to get more styly than the Woodinator. Wood had a block of wood for his brain. He was just so tough. A really big learning moment for our friend Jose. The first time that he's ever even been dragged, I believe, to the second round, or maybe outside of the second round. If there's anyone who's going to do that to him, of course it's Nate Wood. Makes a lot of sense. Because again, durable decision guy. We knew that fight was going to be crazy because it was somebody who is known for getting the decision wins. Nathaniel Wood just grind city, and then Jose, getting the quick finish. So really big test, and Jose did not come out on the other side, but survived the decision with Nathaniel Wood. So looking to make a bit of a statement here as a comeback off of that. So Nathaniel Wood snatched that 7-fight win streak. Oh no, and it was all finishes too. My goodness. So that's the thing. Jose only knows the finish. Pretty evenly split though between submission and knockout, which is so crazy cool. And so before that, he was coming off of 2 knockouts prior to the Nathaniel Wood, and most recently was Hyder Emil, which was pretty crazy stuff, via knee in just a couple of seconds. And he really wanted like a grindy matchup in that fight, but again found that later in his fight with Nathaniel Wood. Yes. And it was a really good fight. Not trying to, Jose played his part in the dance, and it was great. So still has never been finished, and is still on that mission for greatness, and has proven to be a jack of all trades. I think this one has a really high likelihood of being the quirkiest fight of the night, the one with the weirdest, most strange moments, in a good way. I think this is the one I'm most looking forward to outside of the co-main and the main. Yes, this will be a really fun one though, for sure. I'm very confident neither of these gentlemen will disappoint us. They are both super exciting, and I just love the uniqueness that they bring. Very interesting movement, really unique approaches. Jose a little bit more on the frantic side of things, looking to go out guns a-blazing right away. But Andre Fili, he's like willing to get crazy as need be. Like he really is, and we've seen that. We've seen him be tested and come out the other side. They both are a threat in all places, though I think this one will have a lot of really good exchanges on the feet in particular. We're going to be spinning on this one in more ways than one. We'll be circling the octagon and individually spinning as well. I just have really high hopes for this fight. I think it's going to be insanely violent, and we are going to have so much fun. Both these guys just so game, but again, in really interestingly different positions. Jose's really looking for a comeback moment, and Andre Fili looking to continue to prove that he is a veteran, but not someone who is on his way out. He's looking to use his veteran skills to style up on you, and not looking for you to use him as a way to build your name. Really excited about this one for sure. Then we have a light heavyweight matchup with Ian Cutelaba and Omar Sy. Ian Cutelaba, the Hulk, comes from a wrestling and sambo and judo background, and has been in the UFC since 2016. It's been a little up, down, and around, as we say, and right now is coming off of what DC described as the Montreal screw job. So it was a split decision loss to Modestas Bukauskas, though a lot of people felt that it was most certainly not a loss, and that he was the one doing more and controlling that fight all the way until the finish. Would love to know your thoughts on if you think this was the Montreal screw job. Okay, so he'll be heading into his 20th UFC fight. We got a veteran on our hands again, Veteran City, and he recently had his first ever submission win in the UFC. So just because Ian Cutelaba is a veteran doesn't mean that he's not evolving, and he is extremely high about that win. I'm guaranteeing he is still high about that because that's crazy, to have that many fights and have never got the subby sub, at least in the UFC. But that's how it is with Extreme Couture. They're going to keep evolving you as long as you stay there. So he has 12 round one, knockout wins. He's very powerful. That's what he's known for. Ground striking McGee. I mean, if you fall to the ground, he's going to chase you and just lay on you completely. Just bang, bang, bang. Hammer Fist City. Hasn't been green lately, so even though he's pictured green there, he's kind of given that up. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to paint your entire body up to your eyes in green. So I get it. I respect it. Even though I would like to see that come back. He's a family man. Him and his wife are really gorgeous people. I would say basically everybody in their partner is just so beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But they love to pose. Like they do a lot of like costumes, dress up, stuff like that. I think that's really cute. Omar is here from KSW and has had a little bit of inactivity in his time throughout the cancellation curse, but has been in the UFC since 2024 and has been a little bit active. But again, it's not been all easy on that front. Right now is coming off of a TKO win over Branson Ribeiro, which is a bounce back from his sole loss, which was a loss decision. I think that was to Alonzo Meningfield, who really showed his veteran status in that fight. It was pretty hard to pin down, stayed really active, but Omar has still never been finished, and he's always down for a quick turnaround. So always down to get back in there, but again, the cancellation, so not by choice. He's an everyman, but it's important to know that all of his submissions are rear naked chokes, so definitely a preference there. And when it happens, it's usually happening in round one. So all of his finishes, at least TKO style, have happened in round one, and then 3 submissions as well. He's very, very tall and long. He looks a lot bigger than most of his opponents. Super takedown resistant. Is very stocky, so not with an O, but with an A, like a cat. Stalking you down, and as mentioned, cancellation bout curse. We should get a really, really fun fight here because Cutelaba is cutie crazy. He's going to get wild and mixy with it. He is a mixy guy, but when I say mix it, I guess I mean alternating between refinement and chaos. Lots of chaos, though. Leaning on the chaos. Yeah, so we're going to get some chaos transitions. I do think that Cutelaba is not going to give Umar a lot of space to breathe, so that'll be fun to see. And Umar, he bounced back well off of his first and only loss via decision, where he did find a little bit of this slow down a little bit, but he is probably, as usual, going to be looking to get it done early. And Cutelaba, going to be cootie crazy with it. So this is another quirky one, I would say, for sure. One of the more quirky fights, I think, because of Cutelaba. And that means we made it to our co-main event, Jillian Robertson and Amanda Lemos. Amandinha and Jillian Robertson were actually supposed to fight, I think, a couple of months ago. It got scrapped, but I'm very excited that we managed to rebook this fight and that we didn't have to move on, because I think this will be pretty fun. So Amandinha has been in the UFC for a while. She is a veteran, having amassed a 9-5 record, has faced incredibly tough competition. Right now coming off of a decision loss to Tatiana Suarez, who ragdolled her very well, as Tatiana often does. That is definitely where she shines. And in general, most people who fight Lemos want to get her to the ground, because if there's one thing she's known for, it's for her striking. So in her many fights against many greats, she has been a straight, thorough puncher and knocks down a lot of her opponents. She went on a 5-fight win streak in the UFC, just tearing it up, really knows how to brawl too, not discouraged at all by taking damage herself, and has just really proven to be so powerful, and people really want to get that to the ground. 53% of her wins via knockout, and that left hand, when it connects, it hurts. So knockdowns. She has got a lot of power. That is her reputation. And then there's Jillian, who has a very different reputation. She started her MMA journey at 16 and became Dean Thomas's prodigy. And he is still her coach, still coaching the Savage. So cool. I love that. I think Dean Thomas is one of the smartest people in the game. He is just a wealth of knowledge and experience and a wealth of accolades as well. Jillian is a BJJ black belt, and she is also the Tough 26 champion, the women's flyweight division debut, although we do have a strawweight fight on our hands here. Jillian transitioned to flyweight about halfway through her UFC career in 2022, and right now she is coming off of a TKO win over Marina Rodriguez. That was Marina's retirement fight. Shout out to her. Shout out to an incredible career. Marina Rodriguez, so cool. That was really great. And it's been 2 canceled fights in a row since then. So Jillian has been fighting tooth and nail to get back in the cage, and things have just not been manifesting. So it's almost been a freaking year since then, and here we are, but we are here. Here we are, and here we are. She has got a lot of really incredible ground control all on your back. When she's on your back, that's when it's a really, really dangerous position, but she's good all over the ground. That is her thing. Jillian is the submission master. She has the most submissions of any woman in the UFC. That's crazy. She's on a 4-fight win streak. She is just hitting an incredible stride right now. Fun quote from Jillian is that she's rolling joints and breaking them. Nice little pun there. She's an animal lover, she's an activist, got 2 little chihuahuas with her boyfriend, and she's also a regular feature on the Fight Banana podcast with Elle Dawson. Shout out to that podcast. Shout out to Jillian and her brilliant mind. I think that this fight is going to end up looking a lot like when Amanda Lemos faced Virna Jandiroba, because Virna Jandiroba is a submission master herself. Probably, I would say tied with Jillian for her submission prowess. Expertise, really has carved a legacy for herself for being a submission threat. I mean, Virna Jandiroba, though, like Jillian, is willing to get nasty and gritty with it wherever the fight goes, but just has that submission preference and is so strong and so controlling, just nightmare. Like, it's one submission threat to the next. And Virna Jandiroba was able to get the submission win over Amanda Lemos in round 2 after dragging her to some really tough positions. I do think we're going to get a similar feel here, at least as far as the focus. I think Jillian will be trying to drag things to the ground. I think a lot of people are going to be saying that because it just makes sense when you have somebody who is known for having really heavy lead-based hands and someone who's got the most submissions out of any woman in the UFC. Just makes sense. But I think especially with Lemos just being so powerful, it'll be an extra motivator there. And I think also Lemos has had some trouble. She's definitely really scrappy and doesn't just get completely bullied, but Tatiana Suarez really strong on that wrestling, was able to drag her down there several times, and Virna Jandiroba using that BJJ threatened the submission until it found its way. So definitely not where Lemos wants to be, but she's definitely not deterred either, and it's going to take a couple of times, would be my guess. Like, if you're going to get her on the ground to manifest a submission, you're going to have to take her down several times because she is pretty difficult to deter, very difficult to wound. She is super durable as well. I know it's going to be scrappy though, I do think, and maybe we'll be lucky and we'll get 3 rounds out of this one. But this is a super exciting fight for our strawweights, and Jillian is right there in title contention. I would say, depending on how this goes, she can make a real case for herself to get the belt next even. And then we have the biggest age gap in the UFC main event history with Steelix versus Machop, aka Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. The last featherweight spotlight. Josh Emmett, CCO, One Punch Man, who he happens to look like, especially right now because he's not rocking the beard, so we're really One Punch Man with it right now. He made his UFC debut as a fill-in, so shout out to that. Shout out to Josh Emmett, who has continued to prove to be game. Josh Emmett's not going to say no to any of the opponents that come in front of him. He's not that kind of guy, even though he's at the point in his career where, a lot of people start making a little bit more strategic moves. Some people, when they're in that veteran status, it goes the opposite way. They're like, you know what? To heck with it. Yeah, to heck with it. So to heck with it. He's coming off of an armbar loss to Yusuf Zalal. It was a verbal tap situation. Tap, tap, tap. But pretty early, not accumulating much damage. And so here we are right back in it. This is Josh's 5th time headlining an event. And there's a reason for that. He delivers. Josh Emmett 100% delivers. He has the most knockdowns in UFC featherweight history, so that's 12, and he is tied with a handful of other very prolific figures like Chuck Liddell, Quentin Jackson, Cody Garbrandt, and Montel Jackson for the most consecutive fights with a knockdown. So he had 7 fights in a row where his opponents were all knocked down. So that is his reputation. Strength! He is so strong. He might even be the strongest current featherweight fighter. Yes, you can make a real easy case for that, I feel. That's not even like a controversial statement, but we got a lot of massive looping punches. Okay, a lot of heavy hands, often wild and reckless. He's going to get crazy with it. He's going to get crazy with it. Very comfortable in the decision, so he can really wear you out the whole way. 53% of his wins coming that way. He's been a little up and down, though, since the 5-fight win streak, and has been mostly in the loss category for his past 5 fights. Again, Beard is gone, so we're turning a new leaf. Still rocking with Dillashaw, so shout out to Team Alpha Male. And he is going against Kevin Vallejos. Again, Vallejos. He is an Argentine, so we have the Yeísmo at play there. I didn't know the name for that particular linguistic phenomena, but there it is, not that double L. It's a ch. So that's fun. We're always learning, myself included. I've got a lot to learn, and I thought that was cool that there's the whole name for that phenomena. Of course there is. But Kevin Vallejos, El Chino, he completely dominated the regional scene. 4-time title defenses at Samurai Fight House, and just really, it was tough to get somebody that Kevin wasn't just going to run through. So he had a bit of a Dana White's Contender Series redemption moment. So I'm sure you may recall that he lost to Jean Silva in his first time in a very fun decision matchup, and he is still after that rematch. Makes sense, right? It's his only loss. So that's really cool too. Like that, I am liking the narrative we're painting. Maybe that would be the perfect next fight for him if he gets a win right here. He's coming off of a super swaggy finish of Giga Chikadze. I mean, Swagville. He got spinny with it and it was crazy. Wow. He is really a power puncher, though, mainly, and he really wants that knockout. 70% of his wins, he's looking to get the heck in there. Just like Harry Hardwick, he's all about that urgency. Let's go. And Kevin, real sweet man. He thinks that you can do it too. So in his last post-fight interview, the main message that he wanted to spread was that, if you want to do something, you can do it. I'm just a regular guy. Like, there's nothing special or unique about me. That might be debatable, but, he's keeping it humble. There's nothing special about me. You can fight for your dreams as well. Go for it. Love that. That's part of the reason why Machop is the Pokemon that fits him. This is going to be so much fun, and it is a really interesting matchup with the whole age thing. Again, a 15-year age gap is huge. The biggest that we've ever seen in a main event. So obviously not the biggest that we've seen in a fight in general, but with this high and bright spotlight, never seen it. So that's kind of cool. Shout out to Mike Bond from MMA Junkie for illuminating me to that fact. I think it was in his interview with Josh Emmett that I learned that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I knew there was an age gap, but I didn't realize that we had never been here before. Yes, it's going to be fun. I do think that this is a really, really massive moment for Kevin. Josh is such a huge, huge threat, and it will really prove Kevin's durability, as is. I think, Josh knows it, that, essentially he's being maybe used would be a little bit extreme, but that Kevin is essentially looking to build his name, that's what this would do for him, versus if Josh wins, it doesn't exactly propel him forward in the same way. Like, it's great, it's awesome, it's cool, but it's just a little bit of a different moment in that way, and he says he's down for it. I think he is. I think Josh at this point, he's a humble guy. He seems to really be down to embrace that, I'm trying to stop the prospects on their attempted walks to the top. Yeah, so, wasn't able to put it together with Yusuf Zalal because he freaking went in there and got a finish right way early. He'll be looking to hold the wall hard against Kevin. And I'm pretty excited to see how Kevin deals with the power, because Kevin's definitely let's go. Like, he's not going to shy away. I don't think he's going to shy away from Josh's power. Kevin's got a lot of power himself. That's where he gets most of his wins is via finish, right? So, and knockout wise. So we're going to get striking for sure. Don't think this will be a match on the ground. I don't think this will be a match with a lot of legs even either. I think, it'll be primarily punching power. Both of these guys, big on the hands, big on the punching. Machop as a Pokemon, he's got a very offensive set of skills. I think that fits really well for Kevin. Steelix, though, he's more of a defensive Pokemon, obviously. With his heaviness, slow, steel type. So that doesn't completely fit Josh. But as far as the power being just so intense and durability for sure. But, our Pokemon comparisons aren't always going to be perfect. Sometimes they are. Like, speaking of Yusuf Zalal, it's actually really funny and strange. I compared him to Pikachu, and I didn't even know that he compares himself to Pikachu, it felt like a spiritual moment. It's like, I see you. I see you. So, always looking for the Pokemon comparisons. Yeah, Machop though, pure fighting type, keeping it in the hands. Let me know if you agree. Let me know all your thoughts, right? Let me know which fight you're most looking forward to. All of the things. It's kind of hard to pick. Yeah, I would say my top ones are main, co-main, and touchy feely and Jose Miguel Delgado, I think, probably. But lots of really great fights. Be a Mesquita. We got some unknowns that we're still figuring out as far as like the MMA durability. She's proven to be really tough, but still carving that path. And we don't always get people that are so incredibly decorated in one martial art really make the transition. So we love seeing that. Love seeing that handful of debuts. Lots of really fun stuff. And thank you all for being patient. I know this video is coming out, later than I would like. I mean, in my ideal world, I would be putting this together on Monday. It's a lot to deal with. 2 jobs and a bit of coolio. Not to complain, definitely not complaining. I do love school. It's a lot of fun. But, as life, as I'm sure you all understand, sometimes stuff is hard to balance, but we are never gonna give up on the fights. The fights are our escape. We can get away from the toughness of reality through witnessing the toughness of our warriors. So thank you for being patient. Things will slow down in the future. We'll get a little bit more caught up with things. But yeah, here is our song of the week, or of the next, day and a half. Yeah, check it out. It's Drug Church is a band that I think is really fun, really cool. They have a really, really great message, and this is their new single. Love it. They haven't released new music in a little bit, so that's fun. Let me know all the things. I think that's just about everything I've got. So, peace out.